Hello and welcome to this critical analysis. It is July 7th, 2026, and exactly 12 hours ago, NASA's Deep Space Network logged an event involving the interstellar object known as 3I Atlas that has a 0.00001% probability of natural occurrence. We are not looking at a random cosmic collision or a standard gravitational capture, but a mechanical, highly calculated orbital maneuver. 3I Atlas just executed a perfectly synchronized helical orbit around the planet Mercury, coiling around the sun-scorched world like a snake. NASA's Planetary Defense Array, cross-referenced with the European Space Agency's Bepi-Colombo probe, detected this impossible trajectory shift at exactly 4:12 UTC, revealing data that has absolutely no precedent in the history of orbital mechanics. Picture a scenario where an interstellar object measuring over 33 billion tons and traveling at 85,000 kilometers per hour approaches the innermost planet of our solar system. According to every known law of astrophysics, it should either slingshot around the sun or crash directly into a celestial body. Instead, at a distance of precisely 400,000 kilometers from Mercury, it deployed a massive non-gravitational deceleration and altered its pitch by 87.63 degrees. Precision that tight requires immense directed intention, completely challenging our conventional models. The standard explanation for unexpected space maneuvers is outgassing, where a comet heats up, ice vaporizes, and the escaping gas acts like a natural thruster. However, outgassing cannot account for a closed, wrapping orbital capture. To execute a serpentine coil around Mercury's weak gravitational well, an object must constantly fire directional thrusters to maintain a perfectly equidistant spiral, and 3I Atlas is doing this with a margin of error of within 0.03 degrees. Even the senior dynamics team at the Jet Propulsion Laboratory, who map cosmic trajectories for a living, flagged this as a mathematical impossibility for a lifeless rock. When an institution at that level initiates emergency data classification protocols, we need to pay close attention because this completely defies our scientific models. Yet, 3 independent sources validated this data. NASA confirmed the entry vector using their deep space antennas. The European Space Agency independently verified the velocity drop using their orbital satellites, and the Atacama Large Millimeter Array in Chile cross-referenced the thermal emissions. 3 distinct sources using different methods arrived at the exact same conclusion. Right now, this massive object is tightening its coil, and the distance between 3I Atlas and Mercury's surface is shrinking by precisely 4.2 kilometers every single orbit. The clock is ticking, and what fascinates researchers is not just the movement, but the target. Mercury provides the most radiation-soaked environment we know, making this look like a deliberate, calculated, parasitic attachment to a major planetary body. The real mystery starts right now because what the instruments recorded next completely defies all logic. Before speculating on the purpose of this maneuver, we must first establish exactly what 3I Atlas is based on the hard evidence. Discovered on August 14, 2025, by the Asteroid Terrestrial Impact Last Alert System in Hawaii, it was instantly classified as our third interstellar visitor, following Oumuamua and Borisov. However, it possessed one key differentiator that baffled astrophysicists from day one, as it lacked a cometary coma and did not outgas at all. Instead, it maintained a constant, unnatural acceleration of exactly 0.004 meters per second squared, leading researchers to initially categorize it as a dense, metallic anomaly traversing the inner solar system while ignoring gravity. That was merely the prologue to a much larger event. On April 3, 2026, everything changed when NASA's James Webb Space Telescope detected a massive thermal bloom erupting from the object. This was no random collision, as temperatures spiked to over 4,000 degrees Kelvin on the trailing edge and held that exact level for precisely 41 minutes. Natural objects do not ignite and extinguish with the precision of a digital timer, and this controlled plasma burn was independently verified by multiple space organizations. The European Space Agency's solar orbiter confirmed the sudden deceleration utilizing its magnetometer, while the Keck Observatory in Hawaii cross-referenced the infrared spectrum emissions. An object with a mass of 33 billion tons just dumped enough kinetic energy to vaporize a small moon simply to alter its trajectory toward Mercury. First, it executed that massive deceleration burn, and then, just 48 hours later on April 5th at 9:14 UTC, a second impossible action occurred as it crossed the orbital path of Venus. 3I Atlas began a lateral shift, banking at a 12.4-degree angle without any external kinetic impact. Yesterday, on April 6th, it entered Mercury's sphere of influence and began its wrapping sequence, with each maneuver becoming exponentially more impossible than the last. If you fire a tennis ball from a cannon at a speeding bullet, the odds of that tennis ball catching the bullet and spiraling around it without destroying both are effectively zero. Yet, this is exactly what 3I Atlas is doing to Mercury, establishing a perfectly resonant orbit with a one-to-one locking mechanism that requires a precision of exactly 1 in 4.7 billion. Orbital mechanics dictates that an object entering a deep gravitational well at 85,000 kilometers per hour should experience severe tidal forces and disintegrate into dust, but latest spacecraft telemetry confirms its structural integrity remains entirely uncompromised. By 14 o'clock UTC today, a fourth anomaly appeared as the orbital coil around Mercury proved to be a highly uniform helix rather than a standard spherical path. The object is weaving through Mercury's incredibly weak magnetic field lines, surfing the magnetosphere like a synthetic conductor. This behavior completely breaks down our understanding of physics, as none of our cataloged near-Earth or inter-system objects behave this way. Senior astrophysicists at Harvard and MIT have openly discarded their standard planetary accretion models in light of a celestial body demonstrating localized propulsion capabilities. As the coil tightens and decreases its altitude by precisely 4.2 kilometers per revolution, the object's speed is not increasing. This actively violates Kepler's laws of planetary motion and the fundamental conservation of angular momentum, behaving as if a cosmic hand is guiding it along a predetermined synthetic track around the hottest planet in our solar system. The true purpose of this serpentine coil is not just about physical movement, as the data detected next is profoundly more shocking. At exactly 14:18 UTC, NASA's magnetospheric multiscale mission detected an entirely new, unpredicted dataset from the Mercury orbit. To maintain a locked velocity of 85,000 kilometers per hour while dropping deeper into a gravity well down to an altitude of just 214 kilometers, an object must bleed off immense amounts of kinetic energy. The probability of an interstellar comet surviving the thermal radiation at this proximity to the Sun is a mere 0.02%, and the probability of it capturing itself into a perfectly circularized, non-decaying helical orbit is 0.0001%. Both events occurring simultaneously while maintaining a constant velocity brings the total odds to exactly 1 in 8.3 trillion. In 4 million years of cometary observation, humanity has never seen this specific combination of orbital mechanics and thermal resilience. Despite being impossible by our standards, NASA confirmed the velocity data at 15 o'clock UTC, proving that 3I Atlas is actively navigating. The object's rotation axis is now aligned within 0.4 degrees of the Sun, which is a mechanical impossibility for a naturally tumbling asteroid. If you could zoom out to the inner solar system, this phenomenon appears as a thread being deliberately wound around a spool. A natural object would experience chaos and crash instantly, but the trajectory of 3I Atlas is being artificially maintained. When the Jet Propulsion Laboratory initiates an emergency Level 4 data lockdown, the scientific consensus shifts from viewing celestial bodies as inert rocks to acknowledging something far more complex. Gravity is trying to pull the object down into Mercury's crust, while solar radiation pressure attempts to push it outward, yet it rides a perfectly balanced line between these two catastrophic forces. NASA's Deep Space Network detected localized magnetic field distortions, the European Space Agency verified these ripples using active solar probes, and the National Radio Astronomy Observatory cross-referenced the electron density, revealing that the object is generating its own localized magnetic bubble to shield itself from intense solar emissions. This specific data prompted a classified briefing at the Pentagon just 3 hours ago because 3I Atlas is actively interacting with the planet. Mercury is a barren, scorched iron core of a world, raising the question of why an interstellar visitor capable of traversing deep space would park itself in such a hostile environment. Furthermore, the thermal telemetry shows that while the surface temperature of the object should exceed 1,000 degrees Celsius, its core temperature remains completely stable at a freezing -40 degrees. Maintaining cryogenic internal temperatures while exposed to direct, unfiltered solar radiation just 57 million kilometers from the sun defies our thermodynamic models. Every single revolution around the planet takes exactly 88.00 minutes, synchronized down to the millisecond in a masterclass of celestial engineering. It is using Mercury's own mass as an anchor point, requiring an energy output that exceeds the capacity of a massive commercial nuclear reactor operating at maximum power. There is no natural explanation for the impossible display of mechanics happening in our cosmic backyard, and as the coil wrapped tighter, the object began to emit something truly inexplicable. What our highly advanced instruments detected next stands as the most terrifying data point in modern astronomy. At exactly 1630 UTC, as 3I Atlas completed its 40th perfectly circularized coil around Mercury, it fired a coherent electromagnetic pulse directly into the planet's iron core. This was not random radiation, as the signal pattern was an exact, reversed mathematical reflection of the 1974 Arecibo message, but with extreme modifications. The carbon-based life section was entirely replaced with silicon, and the DNA helix data was completely rewritten into a triple-strand structure. NASA detected the initial broadcast. The European Space Agency independently verified the modified prime numbers using their deep space telemetry arrays, and the Parkes Observatory in Australia cross-referenced the frequency. If this were a natural echo phenomenon, our entire understanding of cosmic radiophysics would be fundamentally flawed, and if it were a dormant automated probe, it would mean our solar system has been systematically mapped by an outside intelligence. Astrophysicists are deeply concerned because if this interstellar object is utilizing Mercury and its dense metallic core as a planetary scale amplifier to broadcast modified genetic data back into deep space, we are witnessing a live, highly coordinated extraterrestrial transmission. Within exactly 45 minutes of that transmission, NASA took the unprecedented step of initiating a total global blackout on all public telemetry from the Deep Space Network. In 68 years of orbital tracking, a public blackout of this magnitude has never occurred, signaling the immense weight of what we face. Even the SETI Institute publicly admitted the signal demonstrates artificial control, shifting the scientific consensus immediately. The final piece of the puzzle changes everything we know about our own human existence, leading to a single fundamental question that the global scientific community carefully avoids. We must look directly at what we know with absolute certainty. The helical trajectory shift is confirmed within a margin of 0.03 degrees. The statistical impossibility of a natural orbital capture stands firmly at 1 in 8.3 trillion, and global space authorities have initiated emergency classification protocols across all major telemetry networks. Furthermore, the structural integrity of the object remains completely uncompromised despite extreme gravitational tidal forces, and the James Webb Space Telescope has documented a modified Arecibo transmission directly interacting with the planetary core of Mercury. These are strictly documented observations representing the undeniable truth of our new cosmic reality, leaving us to wonder what is driving the synthetic intelligence behind the signal. We have spent decades searching for a simple microbial signature in the cosmos, but instead, we have found a highly advanced mechanical entity altering the fundamental mechanics of a planet. If this is an ancient automated mapping probe, then our solar system is a documented territory, and if it is a self-replicating machine, The paradigm shift in interstellar physics is revolutionary. However, if the most extreme scenario is true, and 3i Atlas is using Mercury as a gravitational amplifier to establish a localized staging ground, then we are facing a complete restructuring of the human hierarchy. There is no middle ground, and the clock is running while the Deep Space Network secretly collects data. Every single hour brings new observations from the European Space Agency arrays, and the international astronomical community is holding its collective breath for what comes next. In exactly 48 hours, the object will reach its maximum thermal compression point while the modified Arecibo signal remains active. Whatever it is trying to communicate to the deeper universe, Earth is listening, and the reality of our place in the cosmos has permanently changed. If you want to stay informed as this unprecedented cosmic event unfolds and receive immediate updates on the classified data being leaked from the Deep Space Network, make sure to hit the subscribe button, turn on notifications, and share your theories in the comments below.